Welcome everybody. My name's Dan Cole. In case those of you that don't know me, I am the creator of $100 Heroes, and this is a series I'm starting called Get to Know, where we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about different parts of the $100 Heroes to get people excited about it before it's a actual thing. Right now, I have the first novel written. It is in the third revision, and I hope to be shopping it to agents really soon. So hopefully this video will help people get some excitement, start to build up more of a fan base. See, I've got some stuff. This is my favorite character from the series. This is Purge, as you can see. Oh, wrong side. So yeah, let's dig right in. I'm going to talk about the world of the $100 Heroes and a little bit of the basics behind it. Just to let you know, I currently have a script on my screen on the computer that I'll be glancing at here and there and scrolling through it just because I've never done anything like this before and I need a little bit of backup. I'm going to forget things, so I've got a little bit of stuff there. So basically what I'm going to talk about today is the $100 Heroes, who they are, and what their world is like. So basically the idea of the $100 Heroes is just kind of what it sounds like. They are heroes for hire. Unfortunately, that name was already taken, so I tried something else that had some kind of alliteration with it. So $100 Heroes was the name I came up with. I don't know if that's going to be the final name for it. That's up to like the publishers and whatnot whenever it gets made, but I'm hoping, fingers crossed that's what we stick with because I really like this one. I feel like it flows pretty well. It's got like a Stan Lee vibe with continuing the same letter. But basically the idea of this is that they are heroes that work for a corporation, and they're people and aliens that work on this team. And that's kind of the whole point behind it, is that in this world, about 150 years in the past, there was first contact. This big old spaceship came down to Earth, and aboard it were dozens or even hundreds of different species of aliens that were looking for asylum. They said, we picked Earth for a whole bunch of different reasons. It's really far away from where we're trying to run away. It's not really super developed. Like, humans don't even have interstellar travel yet, which is pretty primitive compared to what they came in. And they are currently fleeing from a real bad group of other aliens, of course, called the Slavers. Basically, they don't have a real species name yet because they're kind of mysterious, and there's a bunch of different species that make up these slavers as far as they know. All they know is that they're real bad. They've basically taken over everything on the eastern half of our galaxy, and now a lot of those aliens have moved. Basically, the survivors have come to Earth looking for help. Obviously, at first, this was kind of terrifying for Earthlings, like this huge spaceship that was probably, I haven't totally decided, I think it's going to be, at least the size of the moon. Maybe not that big, but enough to hold thousands or millions of different aliens that came here. But there was a huge language barrier. It took a little bit of time for people to figure out what was going on. The aliens tried to show that they were peaceful right from the get-go because the last thing they wanted was another fight. And basically what it came to was that there were two conditions for the aliens to stay. The first was that every alien, or at least species, had to have some way to contribute to the betterment of Earth. At this point, if it's 150 years in the past of the story, it's still in our near future. So things like climate change were a big deal. Running out of potable water was a big deal. Being able to feed everybody is a big deal. So basically, they were like, well, you've got all this technology. You need to share it with us for us to grant you asylum and give you a place to stay. So, of course, the aliens are like, yeah, sure. We have tons of advanced technology for all kinds of things. Like, we have a spaceship that just came here from the other side of the galaxy, so that's not going to be a problem. The second part of the condition was that the aliens themselves had to be the first line of defense in case the slavers ever showed up here. Because the humans are smart enough to realize that they were kind of taking a big risk with allowing these aliens to show up. Because as far as they knew, they were safe for an indeterminate amount of time. They could be safe for the next 100 million years. They have no idea how long it's going to take the slavers to get to their part of the galaxy. So they kind of felt like, well, if we're bringing all these aliens here, maybe we're kind of putting a target on ourselves. So you guys have to take care of the first bit of defense. You know, obviously Earth is not as well developed in terms of like weapons technology. So the aliens are going to be the ones that'll fight first. And they were fine with that too because they were like, well, we've already been fighting the slavers for who knows how long, so um, looks like we'll continue doing that if we need to. And other than that, things really worked out pretty well. There'll be stories that'll kind of go back in the past and talk about the difficulties there were with the cultural differences and whatnot. But at this point, when we're talking 150 years after First Contact, where the $100 heroes first start their stories, Earth is pretty peaceful. People get along with the aliens. They see the good in it. One weird thing that's happened from this is the rise of the augments. It actually became a new species on the planet that was Homo sapiens augmentus, where basically people, humans, I say people, typically mean humans, saw these really cool things aliens could do. Breathe underwater, of course, different colored skin, all kinds of things, all kinds of strange physiology that was totally foreign to Earth, even in our weirdest animals. So basically, people got jealous and wanted to be like these aliens, which I think is completely realistic and something a lot of people could relate to, where they want to be something else. So they started augmenting themselves, and it started off pretty, I guess you could say, innocent, where people were literally just doing like surgeries to change the color of their skin or graft fins on their head or to have gills that didn't really work but look cool. And eventually got to the point where people that were rich enough were like, I want more than that, of course. People always want more. So what they decided to do was start using alien DNA to really change things. And over time, and without very long, because people were kind of doing it without really knowing what they were doing, the DNA was able to go wherever it wanted to. Those of you that know a little bit about biology understand that if you change the DNA in somatic cells of a body, it's not really going to change anything in the future. Um, but for the story, the DNA was able to go wherever it wanted to, and it ended up going into sex cells, which allowed it to pass on to the next generation. So within one generation of humans, after the aliens got here, there were people born augmented. And it wasn't long before they just described this as a new kind of subspecies of humans. So we've got Homo sapien sapien, and then we've got Homo sapien augmentus. And these people are kind of what make up the $100 heroes. A number of them are augments that are born that way. One of them we'll talk about later on in a later video, named Implant, is named that because he has all kinds of mechanical implants that make him super strong and make him super fast, and he can shoot stuff out of his hands. Like I said, we'll talk. Other videos will talk about the different characters. One of the heroes is just an alien, and he's really cool. He's one of my favorites too. Of course, they're not my favorites. But basically, is that people were now being born with powers, and people weren't really sure what to do about this. So it didn't take very long for people to find a way to kind of monetize this, and that's kind of how the $100 heroes were born. They figured, well, we're going to use people with powers to stop other people with powers that are trying to do bad things, because of course there's going to be people trying to do bad things all the time. It wasn't long after people started being born like this, these augments were coming, that basically the world, the UN kind of started the trend of having this thing called the Vigilante Act that was like, hey, we have superpowered people now. Let's make sure we don't have a bunch of crazy superheroes running around destroying everything. So the people that started the $100 heroes were basically the ones that first profited off of augmentations. So they have tons of money, basically an unlimited reservoir of funds. And they were able to pass the Vigilante Act that said nobody can do crime fighting stuff except for us, except for the $100 heroes. And they're basically sanctioned the world over to do what they feel they need to. So the $100 heroes, I think, are super cool. They have what they call the egg, which is basically this huge flying fortress up in the sky that revolves around the Earth, that stays like on the equator line, and they have that so they can have like rapid insertion into wherever they're needed. They take these little ships they call the jumpers that hold 10 to 12 people as like troop transports, and they can fly all over the world. They're super fast, so they can get to just about anywhere within a few hours if it's like on the other side of the planet. because they stay in the upper atmosphere, which they can, come down really, really quickly. And this is the place where the $100 heroes live and train, and they also have a group of people with them called $100 soldiers that are just basically regular people that have better armor, better guns, that you can hire as well. They're a lot cheaper than the $100 heroes, but obviously aren't as good because they can't like shoot stuff out of their hands and fly and things. Um, so basically, that's kind of the world they're in. The first book is called $100 Heroes. Right now, it's called, the subtitle is Renegades. It's already changed once, so it could change again in the future. Basically, the idea is that there are a couple different renegades in the story. There's another group of superpowered people called the Misfits. They're led by a Superman-like figure. His name is Captain Super, which I know kind of sounds silly, but that's the whole point. He's really tongue-in-cheek. He feels like he is the epitome of the superhero, and even though he wasn't accepted to the $100 Heroes for whatever reason, he feels like he should still be using his powers for good. He totally ignores the Vigilante Act. He doesn't think it applies to him and that kind of thing. So he's built this group around him of other like-minded individuals, people with powers, either aliens or augments, or there's one that just has a really cool suit of alien armor that they got somehow. They don't really reveal because they want to keep it. And basically, they feel the same way. They weren't accepted to the $100 Heroes for whatever reason, so they're taking things into their own hands to fix whatever they think might be broken. So of course they come up against the heroes because part of the heroes' job is to enforce the Vigilante Act, which is, Misfits really don't like that because they see it as pretty hypocritical. Like, you're saying that we can't do things to make the world a better place, even though you're doing the same thing, but you're doing it for money and we're doing it for free. But we'll get into that in the book. The other thing is there are a group of aliens that are unregistered. Basically, they were not on the giant ship that came down to Earth for first contact, and they're designated as renegade. They are aliens that nobody knows where they came from. They are attacking like military bases and compounds and things, and the heroes are sent to deal with that and figure out what the heck is going on. So I really like this first story. It deals a lot with being a misfit, being an outside. It deals with like people mistrusting others without having all the information. I probably should have mentioned at the beginning that the whole point of these, not the whole point, but these stories are young adult geared. So there will be young adult books, and I feel like some of the themes for the first book are really good for them. But I think that kind of covers all the stuff I want to talk about in this first episode of Get to Know. The next episodes, I want to talk about individual characters, what they are doing, what they can do, what they're kind of all about. If there's anything specifically you would like to know about, let me know. Comment below, of course, and I'll put some information in links below. I'll add the link to my Facebook page, which is just facebook.com/$100 Heroes. There's also a website that's not very good. I need to get a new one eventually, but right now I believe it's just webs.com/$100 Heroes. I'll put a link there too, so don't just listen to what I'm saying there. But either way, I just want people to get it. I want to try to get people as excited about this as I am. I really hope to have the first book done soon, and I'm going to have more pictures next time. I've got, obviously, Purge on my shirt, but I have pictures of all the different heroes that I can kind of hold up on an iPad to show you. Like I said, I'm really new with this making video stuff, so things will get better as we go, I hope. Luckily, my house is pretty relatively clean behind me. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I will hopefully see you guys next time. Peace.